This nation cannot, in good conscience, cut billions in services and programs at home or call on Americans to pay more in taxes in order to fund nation building in Afghanistan that is estimated to cost $485 billion just over the next decade. Let there be no mistake. We are at a crossroads in our nation's history, and I think every one of us in Congress and the President and Secretary yourself as Secretary of Defense, we all have choices to make. I, for one, will not ask Americans to pay to rebuild another nation, and I have simply said, I choose to rebuild America. To be clear, I want to share with you just a few of the facts and insights that have helped me formulate my opinion that we must, for the good of our nation and our national security, fundamentally shift from the President's strategy in Afghanistan to a pure mission of counterterrorism. I will be specific for the record. At a current rate of our deficit spending, CRS projects our national debt will exceed $23.1 trillion by 2021. By the next decade, we will spend more on interest on our debt than defense, education, and energy combined. At the same time, the Afghan economy is growing at leaps and bounds while our economy stagnates. And that's only because American tax dollars are funding the Afghan economy. Preliminary estimates suggest that Afghanistan's GDP growth rate was 20.4% in fiscal year 2009 and 10, while United States growth rate in GDP was 2.2%. Also in 2011, Afghanistan's growth rate was 8.2%, while our United States of America's growth rate was only 1.6%. This might be worthwhile if we were building a stable and self-sufficient Afghanistan. But instead of building a capacity, the World Bank reports that Afghan imports and exports have declined for the last 4 years. Domestic revenues funded only 9% of Afghanistan's public expenditures from 2006 to 2010. This isn't an economy that can function on its own in any way. It's an economy that is entirely fueled by the American tax dollars. In the coming days and weeks, we will engage in endless partisan fights over whether we could and should be investing $50 billion more to rebuild American transportation infrastructure, funding that I do support. But we could have already paid for that and more with the $72.7 billion we have already invested to build Afghanistan infrastructure since 2002, not to mention the billions more that we are projected to spend in the years ahead. We will debate how to pay for the billions needed to modernize American schools, while the Commission on Wartime Contracting estimates that $30 to $60 billion has been wasted on corruption in Iraq and Afghanistan. That is money wasted and stolen from the taxpayers that could pay for all the school modernization that the President has proposed, and again, that I support. And perhaps the greatest insult of all is that in spite of the blood and treasure that we have invested in Afghanistan, we are still not their preferred partner of future economic growth projects, and I'll be specific. In 2007, the state-owned China Metallurgical Group Corporation won a contract to develop the Ainak copper deposits in Lagar province. This deposit may yield up to $88 billion of copper ore. To my knowledge, China does not have one boot on the ground and has not contributed one penny to security of Afghanistan. Instead, we are directly and indirectly helping China profit while we lose our brave men and women fighting to keep Afghanistan safe. Secretary Panetta, as I've said, I have great respect for you. I truly do. And for your service, Admiral Mullen. I know that this is a new challenge for you, Secretary Panetta. But I hope that you would take these concerns to heart. I'm sure truly sincere about what I believe and what I've said, and I've given it great thought, and I've researched the best that I can with all of the different information available to me to come up with the conclusion that I have come up with, that we should get out as quickly as we can. Go and fight terrorism anywhere and everywhere it may take us to keep it from the shores of America, and I think the American people will be behind us, but I do not believe that we can win and change the Afghans or the Iraqis or the Pakistanis from what they believe in.